I don't envision people that buy the book to read the book and then start being an SEO ninja. You know what I mean? Like that's not really like how I wrote this book. The book was written more in the sense that, as somebody that's leading a company or growing a company, how to hire the right people to do it for you and how to hold them accountable to getting the results. Whether it's an agency that might be taking advantage of you right now just because you don't speak the language, or you have an internal team that is doing an okay job and you just don't, again, know like what to be looking for in the reports. So I think anybody that reads my book will have enough knowledge to basically kind of like either do it themselves if they really want it, but I could probably recommend books that are way more advanced, like, technical SEO and stuff like that. But this just gives you a good baseline. And
welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Jason Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about marketing, specifically SEO marketing. We have the writer of Honest SEO, Jason Hennessey. He is the CEO of Hennessey Digital. They work mainly with law firms across the country to help them show up and be visible to their clients. But he wrote a book called Honest SEO. Today, we unpack some of the elements from the book, but what you really want to tune into this is AI is changing things, but a lot of people are using it the wrong way. He talks a little bit about how to use it the right way. We also look at some of the mistakes that CEOs make in working with their agencies and selecting their agencies. And it really comes down to understanding the rules of the game, but also how to keep score. And so that's our episode today to talk about SEO marketing and Honest SEO, the book with Jason Hennessey. My name is Jason Hammett. I am an executive coach. We do cultural transformations and leadership development for fast growth companies. If you're thinking about your growth and sustaining that, making it more predictable, then you want to make sure you continue to evolve as a leader. You want to make sure the people around you are leading. We actually work with managers to become leaders. And many of the other elements around this, we've got more than a decade of experience, and we have a book coming out called How to Have Tough Conversations, which you will start hearing about quite a bit as if you tune into this show or maybe even other shows, hint, hint. So if you want to find out more about what we do and see if it's right for you, one way you can do it is to experience some unique sessions of this. This is not a sales call or anything like that, but we're inviting the guests that have been on the show before. We are inviting people that are other SEOs or CEOs of fast growth companies to a virtual conversation. And so if you're curious about what the next one's going to be, it's going to be about how to have tough conversations with the authors. That's me and my wife, Amanda. And all you have to do to sign up is go to coreelevation.com/virtual conversations, and you can register. Now, if it doesn't fit for you, you can still register. We'll get you a summary of that and a recording of it. And if there's a future workshop that we're going to offer, it's absolutely free. You'll be notified. You'll be signing up. So signing up will get you into the queue. And if you're curious about what we do, that's the best place to learn. Even though there's no pitch, it's not a traditional webinar, but if the topic resonates with you, let's do it. coreelevation.com/virtual conversations. Now here's the interview with Jason. Jason, how are you?
so good to see you, Gene. It's been a couple of years.
It has. You've been on the show before, and we get to feature you in a different way this time. But tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and what's going on at Hennessey Digital.
Yeah. So the last time I saw you, I was probably 60 pounds heavier. So I definitely prioritized my health a lot, and it's something that you recognize immediately once we were talking earlier. So that's been life-changing. But Hennessey Digital is doing amazing. We're growing. We are, solving problems. We're incorporating, looking at AI as more of an opportunity rather than a threat at our agency. And things are really going well, my friend. So, yeah, super excited.
Well, you brought up the AI thing, and I think there's a lot of confusing information about how AI hurts or helps you inside of your SEO, projects. Can you give us a little bit of an understanding of really what the challenge is?
Yeah, I think first of all, you have to know how to use AI. A lot of people are using it incorrectly, just like, hey, just write me an article and then spitting it out and taking that content and publishing on your website, right? I mean, like, boy, there's so many different ways to kind of write certain prompts and refine the prompt and refine the prompt and look at using AI to grab data and source the data and cite the data, right? Once you actually get a taste of like the power of it, I think then you get hooked, right? And so it's allowed us to create a lot of efficiencies at our agency. We've created new products for our clients. Like one of the things that we did recently is we used AI to translate websites into multiple languages. So if you were ranking on Google in English for English keywords, imagine taking all those same keywords and now you're ranking in, Spanish, right? Without having to really do a whole lot of work. So we've really embraced it for sure.
That's fantastic. I know I came here not to talk about Hennessey Digital and what you do for lawyers and all of the impact that you made there, but you have written a book for the masses, for those outside of this, Honest SEO. Tell us a little bit about why you had to write this book.
Yeah, it's the same reason why I wrote law firm SEO. Like I'm known as somebody that does a lot of marketing for law firms all over the United States. I'm a thought leader in that space. I took literally 2 years to kind of, to write that book, right? But the audience is so small, right? It's like law firms or marketing directors of law firms, right? And so I'm like, you know what? The bigger audience, right? There's people that have small businesses, or people that have e-commerce websites. There's people that are just getting out of college that want to know a little bit about SEO. I'm like, I really need to write a book that, educates the masses. And so that's what I did. I just basically took 20 years of my knowledge and all the lessons that I've learned along the way. And I just packed it into one book that's very easy to read. Short chapters, there's a lot of visuals. I wrote it in the same way in which I like to read books. And most people that get it, get a lot of value as a result of the investment that they make in it.
So let's back up a little bit. I think a lot of business owners go, I've got so many things to do. SEO is not even on the top 10. But what would be your case for why you should be using SEO as a part of your growth strategies?
Yeah, well, I think that's the wrong way to look at it, because like I don't envision people that buy the book to read the book and then start being an SEO ninja. You know what I mean? Like that's not really like how I wrote this book. The book was written more in the sense that, as somebody that's leading a company or growing a company, how to hire the right people to do it for you and how to hold them accountable to getting the results. Whether it's an agency that might be taking advantage of you right now just because you don't speak the language, or you have an internal team that is doing an okay job and you just don't, again, know like what to be looking for in the reports. So I think anybody that reads my book will have enough knowledge to basically kind of like either do it themselves if they really want it, but I could probably recommend books that are way more advanced, like, technical SEO and stuff like that. But this just gives you a good baseline. And I think to answer your question though, like SEO is, it's a marketing channel that continues to compound like month over month. The more that you put into it, it's like the stock market and your 401k plan, right? The more that you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it. And so it's super important to at least be paying attention to that.
Now, Jason just talked about his book helps you when you're hiring an agency. I've worked with a lot of marketing companies. Let me share with you some of the things I'd like to share with you, because I've made these mistakes to the tune of probably almost $1 million hiring the wrong agency. If you want to hire the right agency, be able to ask them about successes in your industry, your specific market. If they cannot talk about your specific market, find another marketing company, period. Also, be willing to ask them about the results they've got. Ask for sample reports and ask for, how often are they willing to share with you the impact that whatever marketing campaign they have. If you can't measure it, then it's on you. But really challenge them to figure out how they do measure it. They should be leading the charge with this if it's the right agency. They should be really figuring out exactly how to communicate how they're winning and you're winning, so that you've hired the right people. Now, if they're not willing to have these kind of conversations with you and talk about this, then find someone else that will. Back to Jason. I like the reframe of this for people that are business leaders. Being able to understand it enough to lead others and hire others, because there's a big problem out there with marketing agencies. I'm not saying Hennessey Digital is a part of this, but 80% of marketing projects fail
Mhm.
In fact, they don't get the results they want. They may look good, right? The website looks good, but it doesn't create clients or it doesn't sell the product the way you want it to. And 80% are failures, and the 20%, are people that really understand the business. And so you're helping them figure out how to find that 20%, I think.
I know it. Like, we get a bad rep as SEOs. People, like, whenever I say I do SEO, they like cringe, or like, oh, you're one of those snake oil salesmen, huh? No. And so I'm like, I just need to set the record straight, and I wrote the book to like prevent people from being taken advantage of by, bad practitioners. And sometimes, like, the problem with SEO is sometimes the intentions aren't to take advantage of somebody. Sometimes people like have a lot of confidence and they're able to sell somebody, but they lack the competence of really having the ability to deliver a strategy, right? So, like, it's not always like people are just out to kind of take advantage of people. You know what I mean? Sometimes people just lack the real like competence of like really understanding SEO to get the results that they're selling.
I want to ask you from the lens of the CEO or the business leader who's looking at SEO, what are the mistakes that you run into or see most often?
I would say just having a general knowledge of how it all works, most important, because if you it's like going to a baseball game, right? If you don't know the rules of baseball, you know what I mean? Like, you have no idea what's going on. It's like, oh, this guy got up, he hit some ball. Now they're running around the bases. You know what I mean? And there's no scoreboard, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so, you know what I mean? So like, now, if you kind of know the game of baseball, you go and you know the scoreboard and the score is 3-1 and this person's up, it's the ninth inning. You know what I mean? Now you kind of generally understand this game of baseball, that you can kind of follow it, right? And so it's like, if you don't know a little bit about SEO, it's just like watching a game of baseball without a scoreboard or knowing the rules.
And so I guess another mistake is not having a scoreboard.
Key. Yeah.
The
Yes.
scoreboard where what you're setting clear expectations with the agency or the team you have about what we're doing with this work. We're spending 5,000 a month or 10,000 a month. Where's it going? What's the return on that? And that would be too simple of that. There's probably some leading indicators to success. What do you think are the top 2 or 3 leading indicators for SEO?
Yeah. So, and I think this is where a lot of people can easily get fooled, when you hire an SEO agency, is because they can spin data to make a story that looks good, right? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, your traffic is growing. Well, what does that mean, right? Or your bounce rate went down, or you're now ranking on position 2 on Google for this one keyword, right? Hoorah, let's get excited, right? Those are all means to an end, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like, we work with law firms, right? And so if a law firm pays us $10,000 a month, right? And let's say they get 5 clients, right? They get 5 cases that are signed as a result of the $10,000 that they invest with us. We know that their average cost per case is $2,000, right? So like in 6 months from now, hopefully we're able to kind of bring that down, and maybe they're able to get 10 cases as a result of the same $10,000 that they're spending with us. And now we just brought their average cost per signed case down to $1,000, right? So like, at the end of the day, that's really the metrics that like we should be being held accountable for, right? Now, sometimes like clients have intake problems or whatever else. And so we're also measuring the average cost per lead too, right? So like, what's the average cost per lead? What's the average cost per client? And I think realistically, that's, for the most part, that's how, most service-based businesses should be being measured, right? Now if you're e-commerce, that's a little different, right? Or if you're selling books or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, it should really be based upon like, what is the same metric that you're using at your business to measure success, right? So
I know, Jason, you speak a good bit about this. What's one of the stories you can share with us that you feel like would help us really understand the SEO kind of game?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. Like, like, I've been doing SEO for 20 years. I'm not an attorney. I basically have been working with attorneys since 2008 is when I got started in legal. A couple of years ago, Arizona created a new, I guess, rule where non-lawyers can own interest in law firms, right? And so that was probably maybe about 3 years ago or so, right? So I'm partnered with an attorney in Arizona. And so in addition to working on clients' websites, which we do, I'm also the owner of a couple of law firms as a result of this kind of like new ruling in Arizona. And so 3 years ago, we started working on a website called birthinjurylawyer.com. And these are for families that, might have dealt with some birth injuries or had children with cerebral palsy or whatever else, right? Where there might have been some medical negligence, right, as a result of the delivery of their child. And so we created this website, and we knew that this was a very competitive space. And for 3 years, we've been writing content and doing SEO and building links and all this stuff. And so we've been building the pipeline. And so just recently, we were able to close a case. We settled a case for $4.5 million, right? And it was like the first case that actually blossomed into revenue, right, for both the family and as well as the law firm. But it took, 3 years, right, for us to kind of build the website, do the SEO, right? So it's just the point that, SEO takes time, right? But I managed the expectations. I knew it was going to take time. And now those cases will start to, to settle every couple months, right, for these big verdicts. But what I really enjoy is not so much for the money side of it, but the fact that I'm able to kind of bridge the gap with a family, right, that might not realize that there is help out there with these attorneys, and they start doing research and stuff. And because I can determine what they're searching for based on keyword research, write content and create videos to kind of address the need of the people that are searching, and then bridge that gap so that, bam, next thing you know, now their family is being kind of managed by somebody that has a good confidence level on being able to help them.
And I'm going to point this out, and you already know this, but I think it's a really interesting market that you picked. Lawyers spend a good bit of money to be known, be visible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The cases are pretty profitable for them when they get them, and certainly when they win them for 4.5, because I imagine that was contingency, and so that was big money. Mm-hmm. But they're also very keen on niching. Like you have lawyers that just do divorces, or just do divorces with kids, or just do these birthright kind of things. Yep. That's got to be a little bit easier to be able to sell to a variety of different businesses across the US legal, because they are in different sectors and different markets.
They are, yeah. And the most beautiful thing about the whole reason why I've been able to kind of really scale my agency is because we work with a subset of attorneys, right? To your point, right? We do a lot with personal injury lawyers. We work with some criminal defense lawyers. There's a couple of family attorneys that we work with too. But outside of that, we don't really do much with big law or anything else like that. And so the fact that we have a model, right, that we know if this works in Atlanta, right, well, the same strategies that we use in Atlanta is also going to work in Dallas. It's going to work in Phoenix. It's going to work in Chicago, right? So we don't have to continue to reinvent the wheel every month. And that's where I think a lot of SEO agencies fail, is because they're 1 minute, they're like, all right, we've got a plumbing company. Okay, next minute, we got a lawyer. Oh my God, we got a dentist, right? And it's all these different niches that speak different languages and have different vernacular. And it's boy, you start to drive yourself crazy, right? So I think that's one of the advantages that we found by kind of niching down early on with legal.
Well, it's getting time for our book to launch. And when this comes out, we will be days away. But if you want to go ahead and sign up, you want to get the free resources, all you have to do is go to howtohavetoughconversations.com/resources. Just go to How to Have Tough Conversations. You'll be able to find out more about the book, see if it's right for you. And if you like it, there's going to be some bulk buy options. And we really appreciate your support. How to Have Tough Conversations is a really important book for companies that are leading fast, which is hopefully all of you in here. You're growing fast, and you've got leadership as an essential part of that. And giving critical feedback is a part of personal development. So make sure you get the book. Go to howtohavetoughconversations.com. Thanks for supporting us. Back to Jason. I want to wrap up today. And one of the questions I have for you is, I know with the book that I'm publishing with my wife on how to have tough conversations, there's a few things in there graphically or whatever that people just continue to talk about and say they're really valuable. Is there an element in honest SEO that you could say is standing out amongst the others as being really valuable that you could share with us today?
Yeah, I think there's two basically categories of that. The first is there's a chapter that I wrote that talks all about, it's chapter 8, right? And talks all about link building, right? Links are the currency on the World Wide Web. And that's really basically like 60% of like your overall strategy. And so what I did here is I've researched, some of the biggest sites, like, Inc. 500, Inc. 1000, right? Websites where, I'm able to kind of reverse engineer their link strategies and put together a blueprint of every link that every business should have, right? So we call them foundational links, right? So like you should have a link from Better Business Bureau, right? You should have a link from Eventbrite. You should have a link from Glassdoor, right? And the list just goes on and on and on, right? And so this chapter alone, I think, pays for the whole book, just because of all the research that went into this. And then the other thing is one of the last chapters, it's called negative SEO. Just making people aware of the fact that, once you're winning the game of SEO, there are people that are potentially deploying strategies to kind of knock you down, and they call that negative SEO. And there's all different tactics that people could use to try to harm your website. And so you should be aware of that. And so I think just reading that chapter alone also kind of sets you up for, what could be a very dark world that exists that you just don't know about.
Well, that's our time today, Jason. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Gene.
Wow, what a great interview. I learned some stuff there, and I've been working with SEO for a long time, and really understanding how AI is playing a role and how to do it the right way, how to work with your agency, understanding the rules. I think we could all do a little bit more with that, because a lot of the reason why we don't do it is because we don't understand it. It seems a little bit like we're spending a lot of money and putting it in a dark hole. But the story he shared with us hopefully cues you in on the importance of this. You may not have a law firm, so Honest SEO is a great book if you want to learn more about it, and I really recommend that. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.